Hi there, I'm Luma. How are you all doing? It is mid-November. I'm recording this on November the 15th, 2024. And wow, a lot of waves and storms of intensity going on so many different levels right now. And I make these videos to hopefully provide some new terms of reference from new frames of reference for understanding the changes that we're in so we can de-escalate out of the fear mode, yeah, and move more into awe and wonder, flexibility, adaptability. How can we be nimble and flexible to mutate and move and shift and change at this time, to navigate our way through all the big wild storms. Quite literally big wild storms here where I live on the shore of the Salish Sea. It's also known as the Georgia Strait. It's the body of water in between the mainland of British Columbia and here on Vancouver Island where I live. And we get these big southeast winds that come hurling right up the strait, and they hit this shore. They hit my cottage. This little cottage shakes and trembles, and there's a lot of huge driftwood on the shores, and the waves, when they come in at the high tide, they'll lift these huge logs. These are like 40-foot long logs, and just toss them up like matchsticks, throw them down on the ground, on the shoreline here. It is wild, wild, wild. So we're in the storm season here. Today is a calm day. I make these videos on a calm day because if it's pelting rain and wild and windy, you probably couldn't even hear my voice. It's that loud. So I'm quite literally facing these wild elements. And so what may I share with you about riding these wild energetic waves of energy? Okay. So where I live, this water here is quite shallow. There's an incredible array of intertidal species that thrive in this environment. So one new term of reference or frame of understanding is to consider yourself as an intertidal species right now, where you are living sometimes in the old world and sometimes in the new world, and you get kind of thrown back and forth between the two right now. Okay, so there's an incredible adaptability of intertidal species, all kinds of sea anemones and crabs and herring eggs. They come and spawn. They come up and down the tide, and the eggs are still viable. Seaweeds, gosh, it's quite vibrant here. So these species can survive in water and on air, right? And so as the tides come and go, they've adapted to these different conditions. So again, it's like what way may we learn from nature, what's being shown to us here. So I was walking on the beach this morning and picked up this beautiful piece of kelp. Okay, so there's incredible kelp forests that grow out in the oceans here. And kelp, very powerful plant, attaches to the ocean floor with its incredible root system, which hopefully you can see here, doing a little show and tell today. And the roots grasp hold of stones and rocks. So you can see this piece of kelp grabbed hold of all these pebbles, yeah? So you may kind of feel like a piece of kelp right now, that you grew your roots around what felt like the most solid ground to you in terms of beliefs, yeah? Foundations, energetic structures, survival strategies, yeah? You may have grown your roots around what seemed to be solid ground, but guess what? Maybe it was just pebbles. Maybe it was just pebbles. And so when these waves of change come in, they're going to pick you up and move you somewhere else. Yeah. Still got roots, still growing. Yeah. The next high tide and waves could wash this kelp back into the ocean and it would continue to live. Yeah. We're kind of like that right now. Okay. So I hope that is actually a calming image for you to work with. Yeah. So you got your root ball, and it's just moving around in the waves, getting tossed and turned. Yeah, turned upside down. You're thrown up on it on a new shore, then you're pulled back into the ocean, you know, going back and forth between the old and the new. Yeah. So that may be your experience that you're in right now. Yeah. We can, if we look outside of ourselves, we see a lot of that's going on. Yeah. The parts that are still hanging on. Yeah. To the old. Yeah. That's okay. You might still get moved to the new, and then gradually those roots will unfurl and you'll locate where you are. Okay. Important thing here is not to judge yourself. Yep. So to not use those old terms of reference of judgment, of measure, of worthiness, of tests, trials, and tribulations to prove, are you worthy to move along the spiritual path? Those can be very damaging and harmful at this time if we keep applying those lenses to measure ourselves with these very harsh terms of perfection, ideal states, you know, this expression, my best life ever, you know, it's like, what is that? What is it? What is your life right now? Yeah, what are you working with right now? It's like incredible. It's incredible. So let's look at another new term of reference, okay? So we've been living in a world of polarity where we have a small sphere of life. That's our conscious life. And then we've got this huge, huge vastness of the unconscious and the subconscious and the superconscious. Yeah. Okay. But we live mostly, and you know, I talk about this a lot, in this small little sphere of conscious life, right? Okay. I keep being told over and over again, it's like the scope and the span of life is expanding, 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 right? New terms of reference, new frames, bigger, more expansive. That includes more phenomena, yeah? More in a multi-dimensional way, okay? So what are we doing here? We're integrating this poor little limited, separate version of ourselves back into that greater wholeness of who we are. And it is quite a process of integrating these fragments or these little separate selves, yeah? Often there's a lot of teachings and shamanic trainings around soul retrieval, retrieving soul fragments, yeah? So, and bringing them back in, integrating into wholeness. Sometimes those fragments need to get a little rehabilitation or cleanup, yeah? So there's a lot of dissolving of other versions of ourself, yeah? Old survival strategies, long-standing, deep, foundational, subconscious, subterranean patterns that we've just lived on top of, just like that piece of kelp, you know. We thought it was solid ground, all these little pebbles, and then holy shit, they all start to move, right? And, well, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going, adapting, changing. Big forces and powers of creation working on us right now, right? So those deep subconscious fears, right? We got a lot of fear packed in there. Guess what? We also have a lot of memories of other ways of being from other realms where we have lived, where we may have originated from as we've journeyed through the different fields of density of the created worlds, the manifest worlds, yeah. So there's a lot of knowledge, wisdom, understanding that's opening up through us, gifts, capacities to work directly with the forces of creation. Very powerful and potent time to be alive, yeah. So again, are we being tested? Yeah. For our integrity, yeah, of what it is that we stand for and within. The purity of our intent, perhaps, yeah. Clarifying that within yourself, yeah. I talk a lot about this time of karmic completion. So it's It's like a whole bunch of stuff that's been stored again away in the unconscious, the subconscious, like the deep archives of the Akashic records, things that we didn't open up and refer to very often. This is all opening up before our very eyes, through our very hearts, through our emotional field, my goodness me, right? Through our minds. Holy shit. Oh, my goodness, right? Okay. So it is a lot to be with. Yeah. I spoke about my last video when energies are moving through very strongly and powerfully, to allow them to move through you, right? To kind of be like all these intertidal species and that just roll, right? Like all the pebbles and rocks on the beach here where I live. These huge storms, the waves rearrange the beach every day. It's phenomenal, these forces, yeah. To live in facing them directly every day. So I can translate some of these energetics for you here firsthand, because I'm living it in my body here, okay? All right, let's take a little pause here again, just to allow you some time to integrate some of these concepts. So when I'm talking about experiencing directly these forces of creation, they're rearranging the balance of life right now. So a way I understand this is like there's a cycle of death, right? It's that which goes into dissolution, yeah, decay. We know that's a part of life here on Earth that has been for a long time. And there's also the cycle of rebirth, yeah, where new life springs forward, yeah, out of the compost of the old. So there's these two forces that are always in dynamic interplay, a dynamic relationship in this polarized world that we have lived in, these forces of death and rebirth, yeah. We know planetarily the planet Pluto represents these forces, and Pluto's making some significant movements if you look at astrology, okay? So there's a rebalancing of these forces. So there may have been places where that force of death was much stronger than the force of rebirth, yeah? And so there was an imbalance, and perhaps we're incredibly adaptable, we human species, and we can adapt to a lot of imbalance, right? Up to a certain point, yeah. So what's going on now? You may notice places in your life where you have adapted to extreme levels of imbalance in different areas of your life, yeah. And that has felt normal, to kind of live life on tilt or in this extremely uncomfortable holding pattern or position, you know, kind of holding on to life and living this way. And so what's happening, those patterns, those structures are unraveling, because these greater creation forces are restoring or creating a new different kind of balance of these elements of life that we experience here in the earthly plane, yeah. And so we're realigning to a new kind of, a different setting of balance, yeah, which may feel very uncomfortable, because we just got used to living with extreme levels of discomfort and pain, you know, on so many levels. And it may feel unfamiliar to unravel and to come into balance, yeah, to experience comfort at the level of our soul and human existing together. And so we may go back, yeah, we're doing this back and forth, back into these kind of tangled up survival strategies of adapting to extreme imbalances in life and still continuing on. Yeah, and there's different forces are rearranging that balance of life. Yeah, these are forces far beyond our understanding, far beyond our personal structures. Yeah, hard to understand from our human dimension. This is why it's so important to go internal, to trust that inner connection to soul, to spirit, to these larger primordial energies of creation, you know, an incredible dynamism, the dynamic nature of life. You know, we adapted to a very fixed, structured way of being, and that felt driven by a need for safety, perhaps, to live within a structure and to keep it the same. Yeah. And then big waves come along and crash it. Oh my gosh, we weren't actually safe after all. Well, we can adapt. Yeah. Okay. It's not easy. It hurts sometimes. So the last video I made where there was a lot of powerful energies coming through, and after I made that video, a huge storm hit here. And I woke up the next morning, my right wrist was completely swollen and inflamed. It was like I blew out an energetic circuit, yeah, within my body. It popped out. And it took a good 10 days. It's much better now to look at what was going on. What was I holding on to? Yeah, what was I holding on to for dear life, for survival, as a strategy to exist, yeah, to fight for my existence here in the midst of extreme imbalances, yeah? What did I have to hold on to? So, you know, we're each being, let's say our old circuitry gets blown out as higher forces and energies run through us. It'll blow out, and it's uncomfortable. It's painful, it's destabilizing, but then we're asking to find a new stability, you know, to find a new ground, to find a new foundation that's more pliable and flexible and malleable, right? That's what's really, really necessary as we're moving through the coming months, okay? So I hope some of these reflections are helpful to you, and please remember to like, to share, to subscribe if you'd like to hear more. There's more links below if you want to connect with me in other ways. And I thank you so very much for taking the time to listen. And gosh, there's so many different points of view out there that people are sharing up here on YouTube. So it's important always to feel what rings true to you, yeah? What's being reflected to you, and what's affirming and expanding your truth, yeah? Alrighty, take good care, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye for now.